G'day guys, I know this video is about why Tom Brady and the Bucs are going to win it all again, but I want to quickly talk about the first game against the Cowboys. Boy, that was a close one. Give credit to the Cowboys though, they played really well. Dak is back and in top form. I was really impressed by DeMarcus Lawrence, he looks really good as well. Bucs had some sloppy plays, mind you. Godwin looked a little overexcited and nervous for the season opener. Bucs definitely miss Sean Murphy Bunting. I really hope he's okay. Brady, AB and Gronk looked so good. They looked awesome. And Vita Vea was so impressive. That was a close opening game, but as always, when they needed him most, Brady was there. With barely any time on the clock and cool as ice, he drives the ball down the field, drains the clock out, and puts Suckup in position for the field goal. I'll take that win. Let's move forward. All right, back to the show.
One more thing before we get to that, and that is, the Buccaneers and Tom Brady and that group. They bring everybody back. They have a full off season, which they didn't have last year. I saw Mike Evans the other day saying we're light years ahead of where we were a year ago at this time. It got me wondering if any team is going to make a run at perfect. Maybe this is something Brady desperately wants. He fell just short. It's the one thing he hasn't done in his career. Could you see any way Tampa Bay makes a run at a perfect season this year?
Absolutely. Obviously people are asking me about this, and I love my Kansas City Chiefs, and I don't see anybody beating this team. Mm-hmm. This could be one of the best teams, if not the best team in NFL history. The fire that they caught at the end of the season last year and in the Super Bowl, and they got everybody coming back. Like you said, for all the reasons, they got a year underneath their belt now with that offense and Tom Brady pulling the trigger. The only thing that will derail this thing is obviously injury. They got an extra game on the season now, and it makes it a little bit harder. But I don't see anybody beating this team, and I don't see how you could. It's almost unfair. And Tom Brady, what he's done, a lot of people, this goes overlooked, I think, and I try to bring it up as often as I can. No quarterback in NFL history has wanted to win as badly as Tom has, and the reason why, and the reason I'll say this is why, is because he takes less money. We talk about paying players. What is he making? $25 million this year. Mm-hmm. The quarterbacks around the league are making $45 million up to there. There's a reason that you can go out. He's so smart, and he's done this his whole career through New England. He was never the highest paid quarterback in the league, and that just shows me that he'll do whatever it takes to get rings, to get championships, and it's all going to come to this boiling point for him this year with all the talent that they've amassed in that team and were able to keep everybody. It's because of Tom Brady taking less money, and now they're going to go out and win another Super Bowl. He's going to have 8 now. I don't see them getting beat by any team in the NFL this year.
That would be fascinating if they start making that run. They've got that huge game week 4 where he goes back to Foxborough. That'll get all of the hype and everything else. And if they start getting it perfect, you know that Brady is not going to let them sit him down.
One thing I'll say here, I'm really worried about Murphy Bunting's injury. We'll probably learn more about that in the coming days, because when he left the field, the Bucs looked really shaky in that corner against the Cowboys, and you can bet Belichick is going to expose that weakness. What do you guys think?
Tom Brady, the one thing he's never accomplished in his career is an unbeaten season. And you know what eats at him? He said during this offseason he would trade 2 of his Super Bowl rings for an unbeaten year.
Yeah, in his mind, I'm sure he's, realistically going, man, if we play our best football, there's nobody in the league that can beat us. And of course, like to your point, like we saw last year, yes, schemes aren't going to confuse him. It's not even about schemes.
Teddy Bruschi told a story here on this show recently where he said that during that year where the Patriots are going for it, he said he and Brady went to Bill Belichick and said, let's just make sure we're all on the same page here. Don't take us out. We want to go for this. And I think Brady would want to here, Jeff Darlington. What do you think?
Oh, no question. Not even a question in my mind. If we're talking about this at the end of the season, he's going to stay in the game. I don't buy at all that he will rest himself or expect them to rest any starters as well.
Teams are going to be really, really challenged with and facing this Bucs defense. They have a very good mixture of veterans and young guys, whether it's through the draft with Tryon this year and the rush up front, getting another young body in there with veterans such as JPP. Shaq Barrett expected to have another big bounce back year, getting Sue back to go with Vita Vea, a young guy. In the secondary, that ended up being the key, in my opinion, those last 6 games going into the playoffs. That young group in the secondary grew up, and Coach Bowles kept them in successful positions to succeed.
Vita Vea is so impressive. Likewise, Levante David, JPP, and Shaq Barrett. They are a handful to deal with, and I thought they played really well in Game 1, and they're going to continue to improve. Are there any other players that really looked good to you? Who impressed you most in that game against the Cowboys?
You can't overly blitz Brady, to your point, because he knows it's coming, and then they protect it up, and then he strikes downfield with Antonio Brown or Mike Evans. So it's going to take a special team this year to knock them off the perch. I mean, Mike, we didn't even mean to go down this wormhole here, but I do feel like they're kind of like the cream of the crop in the NFC. Like, it's the first time in a few years where I go, wait, there's a team in the NFC where I feel like they're just a notch better than everybody else. I know they got to go out there and prove it, but man, the roster, the personalities, the leadership from Brady, all of that, I can't imagine them falling too far here this year.
I think Bruce Arians and this entire organization in Tampa understands the goal of hoisting another Lombardi trophy. And as much as we as players, because I totally agree with Tom Brady. You've heard me talk about when Bill benched the offense and let us lose that game to the Jets. It crushed me inside, and it still hurts me to this day. So I understand what Brady is talking about going undefeated. But Bruce Arians, he's about hoisting trophies. They got that feeling. They understand they will protect their guys down the stretch in a 17-game season. He ain't gonna let it happen.
But I gotta ask you about Tom Brady. Obviously, it seemed like he's gonna play forever, D. Brooks. But I think the one thing about Tom is he seems to be getting better each and every year. So what has impressed you about the sustained level of play from Tom Brady?
For me, it's his pursuit, not just of perfection, but his pursuit in being the best from a daily standpoint. Yes, I've known Tom all these years, but guys, since he's gotten here, man, I've been so impressed with his ability to stay so focused in the moment, in the game of football. It's sometimes you can't even have words to see there, but just see it. For him to go through on a daily basis, that this is not a grind to him. He enjoys this process, the pursuit of it, whether it's his nutrition, whether it's body, whether it's training, whether it's practice. He is so into the moment sometimes, and this rubs off, on teammates. So I've been very impressed about how he's been able to stay focused, man, into the moment with every element of this game that it takes to do it. And yes, we're blessed that we have talent around him here in Tampa, that he get a chance to not just go in and say, hey, the game is on his shoulders, but just be there and quarterback this efforts, for these young guys. And again, when they hit all cylinders, they made plays for him. They went through a struggle last year where they were trying to figure out what type of offense is best, under what circumstances. And, to everybody's credit, from Coach Leftwich to Coach Arians, Coach Christensen, they all got in the room together and said, hey, what is it that Tom do best to maximize this talent that we have here on offense? And again, we were able to see that going to the fourth quarter of last year. So, yes, Tom is, a very, very special player, no doubt about it. But the fact that he's been able to be a part of elevating these young guys through the leadership and their play has been truly remarkable, and something that I've been impressed with in the last 19 months he's been here in Tampa.
Tom Brady Sr. with me is, again, on the Goodyear Hotline, making the plays that move you forward. Goodyear, more driven. Speaking of driven, like, one of the things that has become an interesting topic of conversation around your son is just how driven he is, just what it is that motivates him at this stage. And I was saying to someone the other day on TV, there's really only one thing he hasn't accomplished in his career, and he was so incredibly close, and that was the perfect season. And Tom said during this offseason that he might consider trading 2 of his Super Bowl rings for that perfect season. So that got me to thinking, maybe that's the motivation. Maybe that's what that drives him this year. What is your sense of the chances that your son and his team could win all their games this year?
Well, I'm a little more cautious than a lot of the pundits out there. I'm not sure that 17-0 is going to be anything. Because it's just too difficult. Talking, Adam Schefter just a few minutes ago just said how difficult it is, and everybody else says how difficult it is. But that being said, and by the way, last year there were so many razor-thin games. Every year there are razor-thin games that can knock you off. So I all I know is he's put in 100% this offseason, and I think the team has as well. From what I have heard coming out of camp, that everybody is bought in. So I think they got as good chance as anybody. But boy, there's a lot of good competition out there. We're facing some pretty darn good competition tonight, and we're going to be looking at it in next 2 weeks in Los Angeles, and so we just. There are big obstacles, and we need a lot of breaks, or I should say no breaks, because we don't want any broken bones or any injuries. And that, too, will have a factor in it. So last year we were lucky on the injury front. God willing, we'll be lucky on it this year as well. So, but we just have, we come to step up with a lot of confidence and a lot of hope.
What do you guys think about that? Are the Bucs going to go undefeated? I know it's a big call, especially after what we just saw against the Cowboys, but I think it's a blessing in disguise. It'll wash out any complacency that they may have. It'll be a tough ask because every other team will be preparing and gunning for them. I personally just want Brady to get his 8th ring. I don't care how he does it. If he goes undefeated, great, that's awesome, but I really just want him to win. By the way, guys, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. I make a new Tom Brady video every day.
This may be the first time I've felt this way about an NFC team since the Seahawks in 2014.
You might be right.
When it just kind of felt like, why are we even doing this? Why are we even playing
They're
going
to get there.
Like, why are we? They beat the Broncos 43-8 for crying out loud in the Super Bowl. They're going to get back and they're going to win it. And they almost did. But not quite, thanks to Tom Brady. So that's the problem. Who's the Tom Brady out there that's going to keep Tom Brady from doing Tom Brady things?
I think with a team like this, especially with a 44-year-old quarterback, that if he gets to 12-0 or 13-0, then the whole season becomes about going undefeated. But you got to get to a certain point first before you start determining if you're going to really make a play at it. And I think the freedom is in that, G. Because if you go into the season with pressure talking about being undefeated, you lose sight of the fact that ultimately we're supposed to hoist the Lombardi at the end of the season. But as you get closer and you start to lean in it, and when you think about New England season, when they were going undefeated, that's when the conversation started happening. When they got to a certain point, that's when Teddy Bruschi and Tom Brady said, yo, this is realistic. But going into it thinking that sometimes is just, it's a lot for a team that is looking like they can accomplish another Super Bowl.
That's it for this video. I post a new Tom Brady video every day, so please like and subscribe. That way you'll always have a new Tom Brady video to watch every single day. Thanks for watching.